There are three new cards coming to Marvel Snap in the next 3 weeks. The newest one coming tomorrow or today, depending on you're watching this. Maybe it's in the past. But the newest one coming up is this one you see on the screen here. There's two more. We're going to talk about them all. And then I'm going to put them into a tier list with all the other Series 4 and 5 cards. I updated that tier list a little bit based on the new meta, where I think that these cards would place, and then moved around a couple of the other cards from my previous tier list that I've done. So let's take a look at these cards and see what's up with them. So Ghost, starting out, it is a 1 energy, 2 power card. Unique ability. It's your cards are always revealed last. So this means that when you play any cards out on your turn, you will never have priority. Your cards will always flip over second. Some people have asked, if I play this card and mid-turn this reveals, will the rest of my cards now reveal last if I had priority at the beginning turn? No, you will not. That means that you will only have this ability after the turn has already started and this is revealed. So you can't play this mid-turn and then have the rest of your cards reveal after your opponent. So that means this isn't really a turn 6 card. You got to get this down a little bit early. But with 1 energy, that shouldn't be too difficult. And it is ongoing, so it does combo with some other ongoing stuff. But it does also mean that it is going to get shut down by different things like Enchantress and Rogue if it's that important. But we'll have to see how good this is. I will take a guess in a second where I think it lines up compared to the other 4 and 5 cards. But let's go on to the next card. The next card is Stature. So Stature is a 5/7. So it is 5 energy, 7 power, which might seem bad, but then you look at the description. Costs 1 if your opponent discarded a card from this game. So cards like Moon Knight or even Black Bolt, you could play to force your opponent to discard a card. If your opponent's playing a discard archetype, which is actually pretty popular right now due to the new Season Pass card MODOK, this would cost 1. So it would become basically an Ebony Maw without the downsides of an Ebony Maw, a 1/7. So yeah, we'll have to see how good that is as well. I'll take a guess in a second. Next up, we have Kang. Kang is a very interesting card. It is a 5/0, 0 power, but actually doesn't matter how much power it is because the description on reveal, look at what your opponent did this turn, then restart the turn without Kang. So you're actually not going to have Kang after you use them. So it's going to restart the turn. Seems like it's going to be similar to Daredevil, but you can play this out on any turn, whether that's cheating in this out early or even turn 6. So you can see what your opponent was going to do on turn 6. Then I think you both restart your turns. So that means that they also get a chance to change what they're going to do, but you have now the insight into what their plan was, where they don't know what your plan was because your plan was to just play Kang and see what they did. So it gives you that little bit of extra insight. A lot of people have been asking, will you draw new cards? So does that mean like if I drew Kang on turn 6 and then I play Kang out on turn 6, does that mean that I'll draw a different card and my opponent will still draw the same card? This hasn't been answered yet, I don't think. So we'll have to see when this comes out. This doesn't come out for another 2 weeks. So next week, like this week is Ghost, next week is Stature, and then in 2 weeks it's Kang. So we'll have to see how that goes. So now let's see how this lines up with all of the other cards in Pool 4 and 5. So we have Shuri and She-Hulk at the top S tier. We have Thanos, Galactus following those up. With Sauron being one of the newer cards. I had placed Sauron originally lower, but I had placed him in B originally, I think, but the archetype with Shuri seems better than I had thought. We have Bast. Darkhawk got downgraded just due to it being not as good with the nerfed Zabu. And then we have Valk and Titania. Titania might be a B card, honestly. It is at the bottom of A. Zabu and Surfer, I moved all the way down to B with their nerfs. Zabu is still very played in a lot of decks, but the strength of it is much lower. It's basically like a better Psylocke most of the times now, where you're getting like maybe one more 4 power card out on turn 3 than you would have. So I wouldn't say that it's a crazy card, but it's still good and playable. I think all these cards here in B are good and playable. Hellcarrier is the biggest upgrade of all these cards that I changed around. It just played in a MODOK deck to pretty good effect, and that just like makes it Very playable, I think. I think that Modok deck is actually B tier, like maybe even potentially A tier. It's a very good deck. The collector version, you don't even need to run collector necessarily, but it does help out. And then we have Silver Surfer got downgraded. These stats aren't updated for the cards. Then we have Absorbing Man, which I don't know. This could actually be a C tier card now that Zabu's been nerfed and you don't really have many things to absorbing, but it's still somewhat playable. All these cards down in C, I think, are niche, playable in some things, but generally you can play something better. A lot of times, Atuma got downgraded because of Zabu again. It was pretty good in Zabu lists. Null, very playable in Galactus, but I think it's actually the only deck it's really playable in. And then even then, a smart player that has Shang in their deck, Null's going to be kind of worthless in Galactus a lot of times because the only thing you can play with Null is Death since it's 6 cost. So both of those cards just get run over by Shang-Chi if you weren't able to give up priority with your Galactus. So that's one thing. I do think, yeah, Null, it's a little bit overrated, I think. Some people just like don't realize that it's coming down because it's not played enough for you to play around it sometimes. But yeah, Luke Cage, still somewhat playable in some niche decks as well. There's those hazmat decks that are running around with the trash cards that you throw onto your opponent's side. Shanna and Dazzler. Shanna sometimes feels really strong, sometimes feels like it trolls you way too hard. So it's hard to play it in a real deck right now, but maybe in the future with the right support, I think Shanna could be good. Dazzler, same thing. You need kind of that right support. You need to be able to fill your lane with decent cards to have this 4/10 be worth it. It's 4/4 without it, so it's kind of not great without filling up your board. Agent Coulson, surprisingly, I'm actually going to move him up because I think that he is actually very playable in some lists, like collector lists and other things like that, that want to give you back some cards. So he might even be, yeah, he's probably the most playable out of all these cards. And then Maria Hill, I think Maria Hill, similar to Coulson, getting a random card just isn't that useful a lot of times. Sometimes it completely misses and you just can't do anything with that card. Um, the fact that it generates a card, I think Coulson is a lot better because it generates 2 cards. So it's giving you 2 for 1, where Maria Hill is still just giving you 1 for 1, and it's a 1 drop a lot of times. So similar to Shanna, it could just be a 1 drop that doesn't really matter, something that's not going to be impactful. But yeah, and then down in D tier, these are the cards that just really don't see play because they're not really good enough. Super Scroll has actually seen a little bit of play, I would say. So it could be C tier. I put it at the top of D because I don't want to recommend anyone picking this up, but with their tokens at least. But it's one of those niche cards that if the meta were to sort itself out a little bit and ongoing stuff became kind of busted again that you could use Super Scroll for, it might be worth playing. But it was definitely okay with a Zabu deck back when this could be 2 energy, but now that it's 4 or 3 at the least there, I'm not sure. You might be able to sneak it into like a Sarah Tech deck with Zabu, so it is 2 again. But we'll have to see. Orca, it's just, yeah. I've explained Orca in the past. I think Orca, I try to make it work. It's just not good enough a card. There's too many things that make it a dead card. Shadow King, I had predicted it would be a C tier card similar to Super Scroll. I just think, yeah, with Zabu getting nerfed down, Shadow King is even more niche than it was previously. M'Baku, somewhat playable in like some Lockjaw lists, Cerebro 2. But yeah, it's kind of more of a meme card again. Like, it's just fun to see it fly out of your deck. But yeah. Sentry, probably the worst card on this list. Just putting 0 power out in total because you have a -8 and an 8. And then you have to interact with it in some way to make it meaningful. It's just too many hoops to go through to make it good. So if they buff Sentry, maybe it'll be able to move up. So now let's after looking at that, let's put Ghost, Stature, and Kang in this list. So Ghost, I think, like similar to Null and some other stuff, it might be good into. I don't actually. Yeah, I guess. Like, it's not gonna be good in Galactus. It'd be good in like Sarah Tech lists where you want to have priority for Shang or something like that. Like, you might even be able to play it like against Galactus, where you put into a lane that you think they are good at Galactus, and so they can't play there basically, because then you will give up priority guaranteed. Like you play it on the turn that they're going to Galactus, so that you could definitely Shang. So I think that's going to be playable there, just in other Sarah tech lists, so you can make sure that you're giving a priority to do your thing. Also, you can play out your big cards on the final turn without worrying that someone is going to Shang you. So I think it's definitely going to be playable. I'm going to put it at the top of B. I think maybe like the middle of B. So I think it's going to be playable, similar to like these other cards but just I don't think it'll be meta defining like all these cards above. Stature. This might be a hot take. I think a lot of people are looking forward to Stature, but I think Stature is going to be similar to like Miles Morales, where it's going to get stuck in your hand a lot, being a 5/7. It's going to be awkward to play out. It is 7 power, which is significantly more than 5. So it does feel a lot better in a lane, but the fact that when you don't activate it, it's 5, and there's only 2 cards that you can force it to activate from your side, being Moon Knight and Black Bolt. You're pretty much Stature is going to get a lot of value, I think, when you're facing a discard deck. But outside of that, I think Stature is going to be a little bit awkward. So I'm going to put it down in C, kind of similar to Coulson. Kang, however, I think Kang might make it up to A. I think Kang is going to be like Daredevil-esque. Like, I think it might be right behind Sauron here, because information is king in this game. Knowing what your opponent was going to do, basically stream sniping some people, I think Kang is going to be played in a lot of lists. I think you'll end up seeing this, because it does kind of give you a dead draw unless you're able to draw another card when you play this out, but that does kind of mean that you're playing one card down, but for the information it gives you, it might be worth it. We'll have to see. I'll have to see how worth it is, but these are my predictions. Kang A, Ghost B, Stature C. I don't think I'm personally going to pick up Stature this month. I'm going to pick up both Ghost and Kang. So pretty much with the way that the spending works in this game, you can afford, if once your Series 3 complete, you can pick up one Series 5 card every month if you play every day and do your missions without paying any money. And then you can buy the Season Pass card. And then I will probably buy like a bundle or two to make sure I can get Kang as well. So I'm not going to full spend going forward. I'm just going to probably skip on one Series 5 card, wait for that to downgrade and get it along the track. Tell me what you guys think. What do you guys think? Where do you think Stature, Ghost, and Kang will be in regards to all these other Series 4 and 5 cards? Which one are you looking forward to the most? Let me know. But yeah, see you guys later. See you guys next time.